Sonic Adventure 2 constantly comes up as a fan favourite from Sonic fans, often regarded as one of the good modern Sonic games that have released over the many years. But does it hold up today? Let's find out. Sonic Adventure 2 originally released in June of 2001 on the Sega Dreamcast, and I distinctly remember being extremely excited to get one on my 10th birthday purely just so I could finally play Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. The game was later ported to the GameCube after the Dreamcast demise under the title of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle in 2002 that made a number of small improvements, most notably with the Chao Garden, and finally a HD version released for the PS3, 360 and PC in 2012. The game is broken up into two stories, Hero and Dark. Each has three playable characters, Sonic, Knuckles and Tails for the Hero story, and Shadow, Rouge and Eggman for the Dark story. There are three distinctively different gameplay styles that are mirrored across the two stories. Sonic and Shadow are fast-paced platforming levels, Knuckles and Rouge have you searching for pieces of the Master Emerald, and finally the Tails and Eggman stages are based around shooting while in mechs. If you jump into the Hero story first, you're introduced to Sonic's first stage, City Escape, which is an absolutely fantastic level to start the game with. It really captures Sonic's speed and cool factor, which is all topped off by the amazing music playing in the background. This level is unquestionably what I think a modern Sonic level should be even to this day, and although Sonic's controls can be rather twitchy, it's easy to forget as the stage is just so fun and full of energy. The same thing could be said for the majority of Sonic's levels. Most of them are pretty great, with Metal Harbor and Green Forest being notably enjoyable, although there are a couple that aren't quite as fun, such as Crazy Gadget, that while an interesting mechanic, plays too heavily on altering gravity and feels slow in comparison to the others. Shadow plays the same as Sonic, and therefore a lot of his levels are very enjoyable too. He doesn't have as many as Sonic, only 4 in total, and overall Sonic's are better, but stages like Skyrail are still an absolute blast to play. Sadly, I can't be as positive about the Knuckles and Rouge stages. The goal of each of these is to find 3 shards of the Master Emerald in order to beat them. Although I'm not overly keen on this gameplay mechanic in a Sonic game in the first place, its execution is very flawed. You find emerald pieces through the icon at the bottom of the screen, flashing different colours as you get closer. Green, yellow and finally red when you're virtually on top of them. The problem is that it will only track one at a time, so even if you happen to be close to one, if it's not the one it's tracking, it won't notify you in any way. Because their placement is random, finding them can be extremely tedious and frustrating if placed in an awkward area, and although there are monitors around to give you hints, the game encourages you not to use them, even going as far as to punish you by lowering your rank if you do, meaning if you want a high rank you're on a wild goose chase, hoping you come across them as fast as possible through luck alone. Lastly, the third gameplay type is the Tails and Eggman missions. Although not as frustrating as the Knuckles and Rouge levels, there's just not much skill to them. To destroy enemies you simply have to point vaguely in their direction, hold down the fire button, target as many as you can and the homing missiles will hit them, with not really any aiming required. You can quite easily go through each level mashing the fire button and make it through just fine in most scenarios. Though I think Eggman being in this style of gameplay doesn't look out of place and does make sense, the same can't really be said for Tails. I just really wanted to play as him outside of the mech, and the only time you actually get to do this is in the Chao Garden, which is a real shame. There are numerous bosses during the game, some more enjoyable than others. The main criticism I have of a lot of them is I never felt any real satisfying feedback when I dealt damage to them, other than seeing the health bar reduce slightly. In the case of the final boss against Biohazard, even though I thought the gameplay as Super Sonic and Shadow was underwhelming, only being able to control their flight, because of once again the remarkable music playing in the background, Live and Learn by Crush 40, it strangely kind of made up for it in some regards, setting a strong tone for the finale and got the blood pumping.
Collect the rings. Now it's up to you, Sonic.
When it comes to the overall plot, it's one of my favourites in the Sonic series, even if it is a little silly in a number of places. It's not too serious, nor too simple, and I actually like the introduction of Shadow, especially compared to his appearances in later titles. With that said, the delivery of character lines can be pretty awful at times.
Not if I can help it.
And the game has this strange problem where if there's any music playing in the background, it's completely unbalanced with the characters' voices, meaning hearing them is often a struggle.
What you see is what you get. Just a guy that loves adventure. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog.
Finally, the additional Chao Garden mode is still fantastic. Why it hasn't made a proper reappearance I really don't know, as there's certainly demand for it, and it was a solid addition to the series that added a lot of replayability. In fact, and I know I'm not the first to say this, but I think the Chao Garden is partly why the game is remembered as being more perfect than it was. After you've beaten the game, the Chao Garden offered up a lot of longevity and reason to continue playing. To raise the Chao, you required animals and drives that could only be acquired in normal stages, and you would need to farm these a lot. To get these in the quickest and most fun way possible wasn't to play the Knuckles, Rouge, Tails or Eggman stages, but to play the Sonic and Shadow ones over and over. Therefore, when looking back on the game, you remember playing those good stages a hell of a lot more than the others. Overall, when you look at Sonic Adventure 2 as a whole package, it honestly doesn't hold up that well. Searching for the emerald pieces is painfully slow and based a lot on luck. The shooting stages are just essentially mashing shoot to win, not particularly challenging or fun, and both these gameplay types sadly take up a large portion of the game. However, although not perfect due to finicky controls at times, the Sonic and Shadow stages are still really great, and in my opinion the best modern Sonic levels even today, capturing the feeling of speed but not to the point where it all feels on rails like some of the newer titles have been criticised for. That, along with the previously mentioned Chao Garden, means despite being a somewhat flawed experience, there's still plenty to love here with some great elements amongst the bad that leaves it hard for me to hate Sonic Adventure 2. It's just a little sad the game wasn't comprised more of those awesome aspects. That's it for today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and sub, and follow Project Gamer on Twitter for channel updates. Let me know down in the comments if you would like for this to be a permanent series also. Click the thumbnail on the left or right for another of my videos. Thanks for watching as usual, and I'll see you on the next video.